and I cut this fender flare back down to. This will be stainless. Hopefully it should last a little longer than the. It will still smoke the 37 though. Alright, so today we're going to do a muffler delete on the Rebel here. This will fit any 5th gen Ram with the dual exhaust and the 5.7 Hemi. Might be a little different than your truck since I've already had a muffler delete, but it's still the same process since I had a shop do it before and they just cut and welded in a chunk of exhaust and it ended up rotting out, so I ended up going this route since this will be stainless. Hopefully it should last a little longer than the muffler shop's weld jobs. So I'm going to start by unbolting the old one. Couple things I'll show you under there, and then we'll get this on, and we'll see how it sounds after too. I have also deleted the resonators in the back, but we'll start it up and we'll give you a sound test after. One thing I am noticing is that there's no threads on the end here, so you're going to have to get some kind of different nut and bolt set up to hold this together. Alright, so this is what I'm working with here. So this is where it will bolt on here, and then you're going to cut it back there where mine's already been cut, and then slip it over and clamp it. I think from looking at where the mounts are there, I'm going to have to cut it back a bit more still. And you might notice I have a different nut and bolt here. That's because it's very common on these for the bolts to snap. That's what happened here. I ended up having to drill it out and put in my own bolt. Fix it was started leaking a bit. I'm going to take that off, and I'm guessing this one will probably snap when I try and take it off. Maybe not. I might be lucky. After my muffler delete I had done rotted out, I ended up getting a piece of flex pipe. You can see it here, and then I put that on there, but it didn't last much longer either. It actually didn't last as long, but it was a good temporary fix. Just until I got something better. Well, with a bit of heat, it's going to be coming off. Got the nut off for the bolt I put in, and the factory bolt's coming out right now. There we go. Little double inch technique at the same time. Alright, so I'm dark. But there's an exhaust, there's a ground on the exhaust here, right on the hanger, or on the end of the hanger kind of. And then the hanger here in the boot, I should have soaked that with oil before. I just soaked with any kind of oil, penetrating oil, glass cleaning water, whatever it is. Lube it up somehow, and then pull that through there. Pry bar might give it a bit of a hand. Sometimes it can be a little tough to get out there. Some good pressure. Alright, I got it on there. Just need to tighten everything up. Got some new bolts in there. I found the toughest thing probably was getting these back exhaust hangers on. I found what worked best was to put the inner one, the one closest to the gas tank on, and then slip it into that one, and then into this one, and then the front one. I found that worked best. I found if I tried to get into the outer one first, then it was really tough to get the inner one. Didn't want to reach. So yeah, do the inner one first, then the outer, then it should go on pretty good. So yeah, I'll tighten it up and we'll get a sound check. Alright, so I got it all bolted up, clamped down. We'll do a start in here, then I'll open the door. I'll give it a couple revs and see what the neighbors think. Well, I think that's much better. It was loud before, but at least it sounds nice now. Okay, so I've had a couple people ask about the 37s on the truck, how I fit them on there, and how much lift's on the truck, and what would it take really to make it happen. So I'll start with the tires. They're 37-inch Toyo Open Countries. They're 37 by 13.5, and these are the factory 18-inch rims. I've just wrapped them. So it's got 2-inch wheel spacers, A 2.5-inch leveling kit, and a 2-inch body lift. And then I did have to do a bit of trimming, not a whole lot. So let's see here. See this bolt here? Well, there used to be another one about here. I might have been able to do away with it, not cutting that much, but I cut that whole bolt right off. And then I did, might be able to see here, I started cutting somewhere in here, and I cut this fender flare back down to, well, right down to the bottom, just kind of rounded it off. I took maybe, I don't know, 1/2 inch off, I guess. Something like that. You can kind of see if you look here, it sort of curves back from here down, something like that. I really do. I often rode the truck a lot, so I wanted no rubbing. I don't want to be, say the wheels turned and I hit a big bump. I didn't want taking that mud flap off, and I do want my mud flaps. I don't want mud and shit, rocks chipping my wrap, my paint, whatever. So I didn't want to have to ditch the mud flaps. So yeah, I did a bit of cutting. If you didn't have mud flaps, you probably could have did with this setup just fine. Maybe a bit of trimming on the plastic liner like I did back here. Made it just a little shorter. It kind of curves out at the bottom originally, so I cut basically that curve off there, and then here also in the front this did curve out and then down, something like that to about here, I guess. So I cut that off, and then I cut this back here. It came straight down, and then over I cut that corner off. Real minimal stuff as far as the most cutting was. I did cut a bit of pinch weld back in there, like I said where that bolt was, but it not real major. I don't like the truck's still safe, but if you say it was a brand new truck, you might not want to do that. But this is probably 6 years old. Yeah, 6 years old now, so I didn't really care too much about doing that. I think that's pretty well it. I do have the liners tied, pulled back a bit actually. Also, there's yeah, it's tied in here and pulled back just to keep it snug. That way, if it does catch the tire, tire's not gonna rip it right up. But yeah, so I do off-road the truck. If you can bottom it right out, and it doesn't rip that off. So pretty happy with the setup. Definitely changed the look of the 35s were nice, but this fills it out better, I find. And it definitely performs better too. These going in the snow and stuff, they float better in the sand, mud, whatever. Better clearance, better flotation, and they grip really good. The Yokohamas I had before I found weren't quite as good. I find these Toros in the wet pavement, stuff like that, they still perform pretty good, even though they're a mud tire. The Yokohamas I found they were a little bad in wet roads, and they wore quick. I haven't had these. I've only had these about a year now, I guess, but still, they still look like new. And I have it will still smoke the 37s. I've smoked these a bit, and I've still got some tread on there. They're still really, you wouldn't know. They look like new, but I laid down a bit of rubber with them. Got some rubber in here to prove it. Oh, and one more thing. This is still the factory gearing. I've changed my diff, not because of the tires. I like to beat on the truck, a bit of a jackass. And I blew out the rear end, so it does have an aftermarket. It's got a Eaton True Track in there, so I no longer have the locker in the rear, the electronic locker. So it's got a True Track, which is like a limited slip, but kind of even a little more. Like they say to test it, you put one tire on the gravel, one on the pavement, and you give her, and it's not going to spin the gravel tire only sort of thing. Or it's just going to take off. But yeah, I found for the way I use the truck, the locker didn't really, it worked, but it's for slow. It only kicks out after a certain speed, and that was a pain. I like to drive my truck a little faster than that. And yeah, I found this worked good. Yeah, so this is the original gearing. I didn't change the gearing. Yeah, it turns out pretty good. No problems at all.